Hey there folks, Scottsdale Travel Chick Sidekick here to present to you our travel guide on Antwerp, Belgium. In this video, we'll tell you all about the cool things you'll want to see and do on a 2 or 3 day visit. Plus, we'll throw in a few fun facts along the way. As we have with our other city guides, we'll group everything around 3 areas: parks and outdoor activities, primary attractions focused around the Old Town, and the top dining and nightlife areas, along with some specific recommendations. But first, just a little on Antwerp's background. It's the second largest city in Belgium with a population of about 500,000 people. However, for tourist purposes, we'll be focusing on the central area around the main station in Old Town, which is a much smaller portion with a lot less people. Getting to Antwerp is easy, as it's within a 3-hour train ride of most major Western European cities like Brussels, Amsterdam, Frankfurt, Paris, and London. Fun fact, although Americans call the city Antwerp, its real Belgian and European name is Antwerpen. Be sure to keep that in mind if you're using European maps. Belgium tends to be known for 2 things: beer and chocolate, and Antwerp itself for a 3rd thing: diamonds. Throughout the world, Belgium is known for their beers, and Belgium has over 400 varieties. Antwerp has its fair share. In fact, Antwerp is said to have the most pubs per capita in the world. Other fun facts: the drinking age here is only 16, and pubs do not have an official closing hour. Chocolates are another big draw. We certainly partook in our chocolate indulgence, and in fact, we made a separate video on this if you'd like to learn more. Please search Scottsdale Travel Chick Belgian Chocolate Tour. Diamonds are something else special to Antwerp. This is because the majority of all rough stones from around the world pass through Antwerp to be cut and polished into finished diamonds. You'll see a lot of diamond stores around the main train station, but it's not really a tourist activity, and you won't necessarily get a great deal on diamonds here either. So, just something cool to know. Finally, another great point about Antwerp is the old town buildings and architecture are largely intact without major damage from the war, and the old town itself is largely car-free, so it's a great place to wander around on foot or bicycle. Pro tip: there are tons of bikes, kick scooters, and full-size scooters you can rent by the minute, so they are all a great way of getting around downtown as well. Okay, now let's get into the top things to see and do around Antwerp. We'll start with parks, paths, and outdoor activities, but since we are talking about the historical center of Antwerp, there are not a ton of outdoor things to see and do, but there are a couple, and the Riverfront Trail is a must. Stad Park is the main city park, and it's close to the main train station. It has a lake and a large children's play zone, and it's a great place to walk around, but perhaps the best thing to experience here is a nice restaurant and beer garden right in the middle, worth your time to make a stop. It's called Grand Café Capital. Believe it or not, Antwerp has a zoo, and it's one of the oldest zoos in the world, established in 1843, and it's directly next to the main train station, so it's easy to get to. If you've got an hour or 2 to kill or some kids with a bit of energy, it's a decent option to check off your list. Nudstad is a small park directly in Old Town. Okay, so it's not really a park in the true sense, but it is a very nice open space with lots of seating. Antwerp's primary performance arts center is on one side, and lots of little cafes surround the space. Finally, there's a riverfront trail system, which should definitely be on your list. There are a number of sights along the trail to see, like a large Ferris wheel, a medieval castle with some history, and a one-of-a-kind bicycle escalator to an under-the-river passageway that's a must to check out. Plus, there are a number of other bike path options leading away from this riverfront trail, which would get you out in the beautiful Belgian countryside nearby if you enjoy biking. Now, let's touch on the top tourist-worthy sites around Antwerp. I'll start off by just saying see the Old Town, as there's a ton of beautiful historic buildings, tourist attractions, and other sights to see just by walking around. You can certainly do it on your own, but to really get a head start on all there is to see and do, we'd recommend taking a walking tour with Legends Tour Company. It's a great choice. Their tours are free, the content and guides are great, and all you have to pay at the end is a tip of your choosing. They offer both daytime tours and a differently oriented nighttime tour. We would highly recommend them. Check out their website for more details. If you don't care to walk, there's also a short 60-minute tram tour you can take from the square just outside the Hilton Hotel, and it runs every hour. And if you have some extra time, consider taking a boat tour or simply riding the water taxi along the river. However, I must confess here, there's not a lot of things to see along the river itself, so I put this near the bottom, but it's worth a try if you have the time. As you explore the Old Town, here are just some of the sights you'll see. Grote or Market Square. It's the most famous square in Antwerp for pictures and nighttime shots. And there you can see the famous Brabo statue, the town hall, and the beautiful square itself. By the way, there's an interesting story about that Brabo guy, a giant, and a bunch of cutting off hands and throwing them around, that I'm sure you'll hear if you go on one of the tours. Nearby is the Cathedral of Our Lady. It's almost 500 years old. It's a big church right downtown and you can't miss it. There is a fee to enter, but it was currently under renovation when we visited, so we skipped it. St. Paul Cathedral is also close by. It may be the lesser known cathedral, but it actually has more famous artworks inside, and it's free to enter. Be sure to check it out. And it's not just churches, folks. There are a ton of things to see around the Old Town. And pretty much everywhere you walk, there's a multitude of cafes, bars, and outdoor restaurants for you to choose from. Pro tip, try to find the secret hidden street, which is a tourist attraction in itself, with a few fine dining options within as well.
Again, one of Antwerp's most Instagrammed places, so you can we'll take you in there, give a short introduction what it's going to be, and then we walk through. But it's a small alley.
There have been many famous artists who have lived in Antwerp over the years, but perhaps the most famous is Peter Paul Rubens. His house now serves as a museum, and it's a very popular tourist attraction. Keep walking around and you will undoubtedly come to Meer Street. It's the main pedestrian street between the Old Town and the main station, and it's the #1 shopping street in Antwerp. It also contains a number of beautiful buildings worth seeing, including the Opera House and the main train station. You might think a train station is no big deal, but Antwerp certainly is. It is consistently voted one of the most beautiful in all of Europe, and it's a city landmark which first began construction back in 1895. Fun fact, 20 different types of marble were used in its construction, and it has a massive 75-meter glass dome. Two other areas worth checking out are the Zuid and the Harbor areas. Zuid is the south part of town, and they say it's an up-and-coming area with dining and nightlife. Take a local tram there to check things out, or try walking down Klooster Street. It's famous for its various antique shops. The harbor area is just north of town, and it's in walking distance. Here you'll find some nice outdoor dining options, some beautiful waterfront views, and the Mass Museum. Pro tip, there's a rooftop viewing platform on top of the Mass Museum, and it's free to visit. Fun fact about Antwerp's port history, it has been a prominent port city ever since it was established, and Antwerp's port remains the second largest port in Europe today. If you're interested, you can even get a tour of the active port area and get up close and personal with some of the huge container ships. Also an interesting point, Antwerp has one of the few remaining red light districts in Europe that can be explored in this area. Since we're in Belgium, we couldn't make a video without giving you something unique to do with beer, right? Well, you're lucky, because the local brewery, De Cognac, offers factory tours and beer tasting almost every day of the year, and it's just south of town. Check out their website for more details. Finally, two more things that are pretty unique in Antwerp, and I would call them special attractions. One is St. Anne's Tunnel. If you are a bike rider or just like cool history, you have to check out St. Anne's Tunnel along the riverfront. It was built back in the 30s, and it's perhaps unique in all of Europe with an original wooden bicycle escalator. Just imagine a two-tiered escalator with hundreds of bicyclists taking their bikes up and down with the purpose of riding underneath the river to the other side. Another unique attraction is not for the timid. If you have a real sense of adventure, you might want to try the Day Ruin Tour. It's a 90-minute tour of the medieval canal and sewer system below the Old Town. Check out our dedicated video on this if you'd like to learn more. Just search Scottsdale Travel Chick Day Ruin Tour. Well, that's certainly a lot to do, and I'm probably missing even more cool things to see and do, but I'll stop here and just say you'll have plenty of things to keep you busy on a few days visiting Antwerp. But what about your nights? Well, let's talk about that now. Since Antwerp is a smaller town with a tourist area focused around its old town, almost everything is centered there, and to a lesser extent, the Zuid and harbor area to the south and north. By the way, if you like drone shots like this, be sure to stick around to the very end of the video where we've included a number of shots just for you. There are no heavy-duty all-night clubs in the Old Town area. You'll have to get a bit out of town for that. But there are tons of bars, pubs, street cafes, and local ethnic dining establishments lining many streets. Too many to cover each one here, so my best advice is to just get out and wander around and explore. Wander around and see what you can find, but I will give you 4 ideas to get you started. One is Den Engel. It's right on the famous main square, and its name refers to the gold figure on its roof. It's a popular place, and it's said to be the most famous bar in Antwerp, and the second oldest. Elf de Gebad is another competitor nearby in a quiet side street just behind the church, and it is the oldest pub in Antwerp, opened in 1425. It's loaded with various religious ornaments and trinkets, and it's said to have great food too. Plus, according to this bar, God gave Antwerp an 11th commandment: "Thou shalt drink beer and have fun." Who's going to argue with that if it's true, right? If you like jazz, consider trying Des Muses. It's not a big place, but they are well known for a wide selection of beer and, of course, jazz music, much of it live on most nights. Finally, consider Café Culminator. If you want the real deal in terms of a unique locals bar along a nondescript side street without any fancy history, this is it. What makes it unique? is they have a very long list of almost 600 beers you can try from around the world. Some of them are very rare. And it's run by an older couple, and the bar feels like they've invited you into their slightly unkept house with books, plants, and knickknacks all around. Well, I could go on, but I'll stop here. And I'll just say get out and explore, and I'm sure you'll find a little piece of paradise somewhere in Antwerp. Until next time, see you later. Okay, for those who have stuck around, here are about 2.5 minutes of various drone videos we shot around the Old Town. Enjoy! Okay, that's all she wrote. Thanks for watching, folks.